What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast. Katie Mox and Will Brinson here, joined by the czar of the playbook, Emory Hunt. Unfortunately, Propstarz is feeling a bit under the weather today. I think it's because he doesn't want to wear the 49ers jersey, and maybe it hasn't come.
He is dodging it.
He's dodging it. No, I'm just kidding. We hope you feel better. Propstars, we love you. On this episode of Pick Six Podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. The last episode, the Super Friends talked all about the Week 14 action in the NFL. Breach Wilson and Brinson went deep on the Cowboys' rise and the Chiefs' fall. Patrick Mahomes with some interesting words after that game. You can watch that episode on our YouTube channel or the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, feel free to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, show us some love, so that way you won't miss another episode. Time now to look at some early lines and leans for Week 15. I can't believe it's. I know I say this every week, but Week 15 really is the end of the season. We're getting there.
It is. We're getting 15, 16, 17, 18, 4 weeks left.
It's wild.
I started thinking about, I started thinking about like January and having the playoffs and how friggin' awesome NFL playoff football is. I think, I was thinking about this too. And, I like to complain about the middle of the season and how it just gets to be, it's a little long stretch. I think the problem is there's like this 2 or 3 week stretch where you're like the playoff race hasn't fully like taken off and the MVP hot takes haven't fully taken off. And it's just it's the lull of the season. I think I'm going to work on that for next year because I do think in terms of like my picks against the spread. And I've noticed this over the past few years, like it's just something I'm going to focus on for next year. Maybe like make a New Year's resolution or something.
A new Brinson model.
Not necessarily a new model, but like even with like fantasy too, like you hit this wall and you're kind of like, oh, okay. And like, you forget to maybe like you set a lineup here, you forget to like make the right move there. So we get lazy. Like it all like I want to stay focused. I want to work on my
mid-season slump.
Yeah. No, just sort of like work on like not hitting a wall,
Okay. All right.
Emery's like, that's pathetic.
Yeah. Emery's like, I eat, sleep, and dream football all day.
No, I mean, I don't stop thinking about it. I'm just like, but now I feel like rejuvenated. December's here. Mm-hmm. We have 4 weeks of regular season football left. It's going to be insane. It's going to be intense. We're going to get to watch Aiden O'Connell battle Easton Stick. Who can't wait?
Wow. Yes, couldn't agree with that more. All right, let's look at the betting recap. Home went 6-5-1 against the spread. Dogs 7-4-1 against the spread. Home dogs 2-0-1 against the spread. Unders 7-5. The Week 14 dogs just at it again, especially the home dogs. Any key takeaways, Emory, from you on the Week 14 and the things that happened?
Outside of the injury to Justin Herbert, I still am fascinated to why they were favored in that game. There was no reason why they should have been favored against the Broncos team. Yes, they were just coming off the loss to Houston, but that loss came down to the wire, and that was against 2 playoff teams. Like that felt like a playoff game. But that Chargers team, even when Herbert was in there for the first quarter or so, the Broncos were in control. So I never really understood the line. Maybe it was because they were playing at home or whatnot, but that's not a long trip from Denver to LA. That game just blew my mind in terms of the point spread from the time we talked about it last week. Yeah. We watched out there up until Herbert's injury.
Yeah, we talked about on the Monday show with you, Emory. That was one of my best bets going. I think it was one of your best bets too, Brinson, wasn't it? Were we on the same side of that?
I think we all took the
Broncos. I had the Broncos for sure. Yeah.
We took the Broncos and we took the Bears. I think we all took both of those teams.
Yeah.
Last week.
Broncos might be one of my anticipation plays a little bit later too, which we can get into.
So we call it a teaser in the business.
A little bit of a teaser. All right, so let's kick it off here and talk about Week 15, Brinson.
Yeah, we'll start with the Chargers and the Raiders, Thursday Night Football. And boy, oh boy, is it a scorcher. Justin Herbert ruled out for this game. The total 33.5. It's Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. I mean, Herbert was ruled out, right? I mean, I know he said he's not going to play, but it's freaking Monday afternoon. Like he has a broken right index finger. He shouldn't play again this season. You had your chance, Brandon Staley. You're 5-8 with Justin Herbert. Beachbody Cousins. Leave Matthew Stafford out of it. Stafford's playing some good damn football right now, Emory.
He is.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him.
I think that I don't know what to do here. I think you go with the Raiders. You're getting a bad Chargers team that's 5-8. They just got embarrassed by the Broncos. Their quarterback's done, probably done for the season. There's no reason for him to keep playing through these injuries after you give him this huge contract, knowing that you've got like you're basically out of the playoffs. And you on the other side, you have a guy who's not coaching for his job. Like he's not coaching to like avoid losing his job. He's coaching to get his first ever full-time job in Antonio Pierce. And this team lost 3-0 to the Vikings. But the Vikings defense is substantially better than the Chargers defense right now in terms of just blitzing like crazy and all the issues they're going to give you. I think it's Raiders or nothing in Las Vegas in a divisional game between two teams who really the only thing anybody's playing for is like the Raiders want to get Antonio Pierce the full-time jobs. Max Crosby came out and said it on somebody's podcast. And so I think, Emory, this is a spot where you either take the Raiders or you take nothing. I wouldn't be opposed to the under, but I could see maybe more points than we expect just because these defenses aren't great.
Well, it was fascinating. Everyone is making fun of the Vikings Raiders game, justifiably so, because of the offense and the score. But I came away impressed with how both defenses really held court. When you have two ineffective offensive attacks in a game with inexperienced quarterbacks face off against one another, it could be a shootout. And the fact that both defenses up until the very end kept both offenses out of the scoring zone, a long field goal, I was impressed. So with the way the defense played last week for the Raiders, combined with what now for Brandon Staley, I think he kind of figured something out. First, it was good to see Quentin Johnson have a bounce back game. A big couple big receptions. I think they came in consecutive plays as well. Then he got Spiller involved. He got Kelly involved along with Austin Eckler. That should have been the case from jump. Same thing with Tony Pollard and also Rico Dowdle. Spiller and Kelly should lead off and let Eckler be the hired gun, as opposed to leading off with Eckler. He can't sustain that productivity. So I think this game would be a very good one from a defensive perspective. But I do like the Raiders and I do like the under.
All right, moving on to the next game. I didn't think there would be a grosser game than that Patriots.
Oh, please. We got grosser.
The Patriots and Chargers game that was 6-0. But the Vikings and Raiders game was grosser than that. 3-0. Minnesota won that game 3-0. The funny thing about this game was a push. The spread was 3, and at 3-0, this was a push. And I don't know what people are thinking of Josh Dobbs now. And how he looks now. It's been 2 really bad.
Oh, it's just slippers off. Slippers in the trash can. And Justin Jefferson suffered a chest injury. I don't see any. I mean, they're 7-6, but man, it doesn't feel like they've got a prayer to make the playoffs, does it?
No, not a prayer. Not a prayer. And the Bengals, is Browning out for?
I mean, they do have a prayer. They're like 59% to make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I don't know what Browning's status is. I think that line indicates. You see the 3.5 and it's juiced, indicates that it's probably going to like the Jake Browning's. They're a little worried about Jake Browning being able to play.
Right, because it would be higher than that. If
or maybe no. Maybe it feels like they do think he's going to play if it's minus 115. I think it was just hand cramps,
which is weird. When you think about,
you don't want to. You're going to fall in the same trap John Breach did. John Breach like my hand cramps all the time. We're like, excuse me.
Right, like
he said that last night. He's like in a hotel room by himself, talking about his hand cramps all the time. Like, hey, Breach.
1 + 1 = 5 in this situation.
That's right. Yeah.
I think maybe this line indicates they have confidence in AJ McCarron, who was solid in the XFL this past spring with the St. Louis Battlehawks. I know the story was they ran through that story all throughout the spring, but he did play well for St. Louis. Gives them a veteran presence. So now we combine the 10 games he played in the spring. He's in game shape, put it that way. And so it's gonna be fun to watch if he gets out there and plays. And we just saw Nick Mullins get on he didn't do particularly better than Josh Dobbs. I don't know why they panicked. Kevin O'Connell panicked, but it shows you that Dobbs was on a short leash. But the defense is going to be the story here. Can they keep them in the game against either, Browning or McCarron. I'm leaning toward the Bengals here. I feel like McCarron, getting him in the mix, actually gives them a shot. And shout out to the Bengals defense, did a great job against Indy. Turned the ball over, just went out there and took it to the Colts, and pretty much I would say kind of took some of the air out of their sails in terms of playoffs. Now it's going to be an uphill battle for Indianapolis.
This might be a place where you look at some Joe Mixon prop too. I know I don't have Propstarz here, but he was looking pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, and I think too, the other guy that could get some action here, especially with as much as Brian Flores likes to blitz, Chase Brown. They used him in the screen game yesterday. He had that long touchdown catch. Wouldn't be surprised at all if you see Mixon and Chase Brown catch a bunch of dump offs and they just get the ball out quickly, try to run the football, force Minnesota to do something offensively. Would almost, and you know what, honestly, this might be not as much about AJ McCarron and Jake Browning as it is about like Nick Mullins being the starter for this Vikings team. And it's weird because you're 7-6. Justin Jefferson comes back from the hamstring injury, first game back from IR, went to a hospital with the chest injury. That makes me think he probably won't be playing in this game. It's too early to know for sure, but the Vikings are just in a bad spot. This is sort of a must-win game. They got the Rams.
Like you thought when Kirk Cousins went down that they were going to be out, and then they had this resurgence of life, and now it's like, oh no, you're dead.
Well, so the Rams are 33% to make the playoffs, Vikings 59%, Packers 72%, and then who else is in the mix there? In the NFC South, you can't toss them out. Seahawks are at 14% now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's quite a mess in
Such
there.
a bummer.
But this would be a huge win. Yesterday was a huge win for the Vikings. This would be a huge win for the Vikings if they can get this. Would almost like put themselves in a really good spot to make the playoffs if they can do it. 2 games of the Lions still remaining. Steelers at the Colts. Surprising total here because Kenny Pickett has been ruled out for this game. You see the move. A little bit of juice on the Colts, probably an anticipation option for a play here because you're going to get Mitchell Trubisky, or maybe that doesn't matter to you at all. The total 42. The look-ahead line was Colts minus 1.5. Indy didn't play well yesterday, but this is a big spot for Indy if they want to stay in this race in the Emory. Your Colts, if they want to stay in both the AFC South race and the AFC wildcard race.
There were so many teams in the AFC South that didn't help themselves. They needed the Jags to lose. If you're Houston, if you're Indy, it was like perfect. And then you go out there and lose too. So it kind of kept you where you are. You had a chance.
Jags lost as a 9-point favorite at home on Monday Night Football for the first time. The first time in Monday Night Football there since 2011. You lose. You do no Joe Burrow, and you still lose a 9-point favorite at home. In Trevor Lawrence.
You had a chance to really take first place in the division. Like one of those two teams is crazy. And now you may not even make the playoffs. So, right, you're going to get your back against the wall. But this is the type of game that Tomlin can show up and win because no one's expecting anything out of the Steeler offense, whether it's Rudolph or even Trubisky. This is a situation where you're betting against the Steelers' defense against Minshew. That's, to me, a difficult task for him. So I kind of lean with Pittsburgh here, basically off straight run game and defense. I don't think we'll see Trubisky be a factor here. So I'm taking the Steelers in the points here against this Colts team, mainly because of the defensive effort and not trusting what they're going to do offensively.
What was the worst loss for an AFC team over the last?
Houston losing to the Jets.
I mean, yeah, but like the Steelers lost to the Patriots. That's pretty.
Yeah, and it was a high-scoring game too.
Imagine if you said that like 7 years ago, the Steelers lost to the Patriots. It'd be like, oh, that was a really hard-fought game.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, it was a shootout too. It was crazy.
Like crazy game. Like the game, it went over. But the Jets, I mean, no one. I don't want to say no one because it's probably somebody out there is going to have. Oh, I bet this, but no one really saw Houston going into MetLife and getting drummed. Zach Wilson looked great. We'll talk about them later, but I thought that was a worse loss because Houston was playing. They beat the Broncos. They were playing on an upward trend, and now they might even make the playoffs. And
total 42 though does seem kind of high for a Steelers team, and then also just it's crazy that 42 seems high for 2023 because we've seen a lot of 30s, a lot of low 30s in this. I might lean towards the under in this game. I don't know that the Steelers offense actually gets moving depending on who they have a quarterback. I don't think it actually matters. And like you said, I think the Steelers defense will make it hard for Minshew. So I would lean under 42.
I picked the Jets to win for the record. Pete Prisco and I picked the Jets to win. I don't know. It's AFC game. It's one of those weird AFC games. Instead of feeling. I mean, I only went 6-6-1, so it's not like I did a great job or anything like that.
All right, moving on. Broncos at the Lions. Lions laying forward this total 46.5, still the same. Look ahead line, Lions 4.5. So it's ever so slightly changed. Well, I'll talk about this one a little bit more later, but I'm going to go ahead and grab the points with the Lions. In some places, this has already gone down to 3.5.
You grab the points of the Broncos.
Yes, grab the point. Sorry, did I say that wrong? Grab the points of the Broncos. Because in some places, this line has already gone down to 3.5. So I might as well grab this 4 here with FanDuel. The Lions can't stop anything. They can't stop anything. We've seen this several weeks in a row. Dan Campbell came out there saying he's got to be, what did he say? He's got to be more aggressive.
Wearing diapers.
Yeah, wearing diapers. I didn't hear that part of it.
Until he said his family's nervous about him going for it on 4th down, wear a diaper.
Missed that part of the press conference, but yeah, that he's got to be tougher on his team here. This Broncos offense is kind of moving and shaking. Russell Wilson's looked pretty good, and we do know the Lions. Jeff Goff has thrown a few picks this season, so he can create those or give up those turnovers, and the Broncos capitalize on that. So that is what I would do right now. I would take the 4 points with the Broncos.
Yeah,
give me the under here. I think when you have those coaches' statements, focus this week is going to be on defense. They're going to come out. They're going to do some things differently. Sutton is going to have 1 or 2 drops in the first half. Then he'll pick it up in the second half. Judy's going to run a great route and have a drop in the first half. Then he's going to find a way to get it going in the second half. So it could be a late Broncos win. I agree with you. I'm taking the points in the Broncos, but I like the under more than anything. This one screams, like 24-14 or something like that. I don't think we'll see because the Broncos can get pressure. And I don't see them actually throwing deep down the field against those corners in Detroit. So I feel like this one would be a tighter game than people think.
Lions took care of business against the Saints. They were up by 2 scores there. But since their bye, I mean, they had that crazy game at the Chargers. They win by 3 in that game. And like that's just a shootout game. But they gave up 38 points. They should have lost to the Bears the following week at home. Straight up lost to the Packers, who were white hot on Thanksgiving. Again, took care of the Saints, and then lost at Chicago last week. I mean, this is a team where, you're 9-4.
Look at the points they're giving up: 31, 29, 28, 28.
38, 26, 29, 28, 28. Yeah, I mean, they've been hemorrhaging points. Lee McNeil out for the or is on IR. That's a huge blow to their run defense.
Well, him and Ragnow being out, so now you lose your battery. Your center, your nose tackle. That's horrible. Yeah,
it's definitely been a problem. I'm inclined. I don't know. The total is 46.5. That is a lot of points. Denver plays slow, but they've been kind of finding themselves on offense a little bit. Like Sean Payton's got it cooking, and I don't know, man. Dan Campbell, Sean Payton used to coach together too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Campbell was old tight ends coach in New Orleans. Yeah,
I feel like you brought up Dan Campbell and a tight ends coach multiple times, but
because they played New Orleans, I was like, Dan Campbell revenge game. He took care of business. I don't know. I think it's interesting whether or not this could turn into a shootout. I would lean towards the under there as well, but I don't know.
We'll see where the line goes.
Okay, Buccaneers at the Packers. Speaking of unders. Packers minus 3.5. There's a little bit of light snow for Saturday, but nothing crazy. Just keep an eye on it. It's December. It's Green Bay. Sure, the earth is substantially hotter than it was 10 years ago, but,
Packers play tonight, too.
Packers play on Monday night. Of course, that could change things dramatically if somebody gets hurt and how the Packers look. Buccaneers plus 3.5, catching a little bit of juice and a total here of 41.5. It's hard to say what to do until you see the Packers play on Monday night, I think, Emory.
Well, I've said this before. The Packers, although have better quarterback play, but they play a lot like the Falcons. And we know the Falcons have given the Bucs problems in how they're constructed both defensively and what they want to do running the ball. With better quarterback play, you feel like the Packers should be able to take care of business. So I'm later points with Green Bay. And the Bucs, I feel like, should lean more to Rachaad White. I like how he just plays the game as if he's having fun out there. There's no thinking involved. He's just out there free flowing and just playing. Baker still worries me versus pressure. He still gets a bit scattershot. I think the Packers will do a good job of applying pressure. They don't drop interceptions as well. They'll be able to turn the ball over. if the opportunity presents itself. So I like the Packers here. And I'm also liking the under as well. Cold weather game. Bucks gonna try to lean in. I don't see this one getting out of the 20s. Yeah, I see a 17-10, 17-7 type game.
Crazy how they're just the tale of two seasons for the Packers. You know, they start out, they stomp the Bears, barely lose to the Falcons, and Jordan Love looked really good in that game. Beat the Saints, then lose 4 straight around their bye to the Lions, Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings. And I can't remember if Kirk Cousins was out for that game or not. Beat the Rams, barely lose to the Steelers, and then ripped off 3 straight wins against the Chargers, Lions, and Chiefs. If they beat the Giants on Monday night, that's 4 straight wins, and they close with the Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, and Bears. Like, this team has a 70+% chance to make the playoffs. That changes if they lose tonight. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're getting the 3.5 in a game with a total that low, you probably want to take the Buccaneers. Baker in bad weather doesn't really scare me. This Bucs team isn't like they don't need like the sunshine and everything to win. So yeah, I'd take the 3.5. And if you like the Bucs and you think the Giants give the Packers trouble on Monday night, you should get the Bucs in because like I think if the Giants somehow pull off a win or keep it close or the Packers look bad, this line could probably drop down to 3. You won't be seeing the 3.5 out there.
Oh, if you like the Bucs, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like the Packers,
wait.
Yeah, wait and see.
No, I think you could.
It's not going to fly up to 5 or anything.
The Packers are 6-point favorites tonight, Monday Night Football against the Giants. They come out there and they kill the Giants. You could see this line move.
I don't think it'll move a ton just because of the low total.
Yeah, and we'll see how Jordan Love does tonight too, because Martindale's going to throw a ton of blitz packages at him. Blink, wink. All right, moving on to the other team that's playing tonight, the Giants. At the Saints. Saints laying 6. This total 37. Emory, you are our Saints whisperer. What do you think?
At least we got to see Derek Carr have a full meltdown yesterday with one of his offensive linemen. That was just insane. But again, it's the tenor of what the fans have been talking about, what the city has been buzzing about, and how the play on the field has screamed to everyone like this offense can't get out of its own way. Alvin Kamara looked great yesterday. Jamal Williams looked great yesterday. He looks like he has those fresh legs out there. Defensively, they just really owned the line of scrimmage.
Panthers suck.
Yeah, right. And so they look like that Saints defensive line.
Yeah, Derek Carr's 2 touchdowns were in like what you would call garbage time. Even though the Panthers were down 6, like the Saints were up 6 points, but it didn't feel like the Panthers were going to do anything. And so the Saints pulled away, but it was like 2. It's like Derek Carr threw 2 touchdown passes, and you go back and look at it, you're like, he didn't do anything all game. Any reasonable team beats that Saints team yesterday.
I want to say he had 37 yards passing entering the fourth quarter.
That tracks.
That exactly. You know what I'm saying? So that's horrible. And in this game, the Giants defense should be game. They should have some opportunities. The problem is you have the DeVito factor going up against the Dennis Allen defense, and what they do.
What is the DeVito factor?
He's a young rookie quarterback, and so now you have Dennis Allen. He's going to send all kinds of pressure.
Parmesan.
He's got Alante Taylor out there, a hybrid corner / safety, but a very good man corner. The Giants don't really have game breakers at wide receiver. And so now you factor in, okay, where's the open opportunity? They're going to focus in on Saquon Barkley and force DeVito to make tight window throws, which we know he won't be able to do because he tends to take a lot of sacks. So this one, to me, I will go under.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Oh, yeah. So he had a 10-yard – he had 37 yards at halftime.
That is.
Oh, actually, and then he had like multiple, like he had like negative 10 yards at Alvin Kamara because it was like obviously on a screen pass. So we had 30. Let me just do this math.
Then he threw a touchdown
33.
pass. I think it was his second touchdown pass where it was late in the game. And as he's walking off, he's bucking like he just threw his 5th touchdown pass and it's 38-35, and nobody was cheering with him like, bro. Such a dumb, you know what I'm saying? Down
so he had, this is pretty incredible.
Okay.
If I did my math right, and it's possible I fudged something, but he only attempted 26 passes. He had 37 passing yards at halftime. He had 33 passing yards at the end of the third quarter. Now you might ask, how is that possible? He only completed 2 passes. One was for 2 yards and one was for -6 to Alvin Kamara because he was tackled behind the line of scrimmage on like a screen pass or something.
Amazing.
So
man.
he actually lost passing yards in the fourth quarter. Yeah, look that up.
On that note, guys, we are going to take a quick break here. Yeah. Stick around for the anticipation plays where we try to beat the line movement. That's coming up next. You're watching Pick Six, more DeVito effect maybe when we return.
Are you using a plunger to unclog the shake machine, as in the same plunger we use to unclog the toilet?
No. We're going to be opening Mega Good Burgers in cities all over the world.
Whoa! Megacorp wants to replace everybody with robots. We gotta do something. Here's your burger.
That's not soap, by the way. It's maple syrup.
Why?
Welcome back to Pick Six.
Just one point of clarification on the Saints thing. Emory was correct. He had 41 net. He had 41 gross passing yards at halftime, -4 in the third quarter. So he did have 37 passing yards entering the fourth quarter. -4 passing yards is pretty incredible in a quarter.
In 2023, like it's mind blowing how bad he is throwing the ball this year.
He just doesn't want Jameis Winston to come in and like have any success and take his job. That's just all it is.
Point me in the direction of the Saints medical system. Like, how is he getting cleared through all these protos?
2 concussions, a shoulder injury, a rib injury. It's like he lost both thumbs. Like, who knows? Like, what? I mean, like he's like Derek Carr is question. I saw somebody tweet about this, and they're like, how is it that it's like every Sunday is like Derek Carr has been ruled out with like 7 injuries, and then like every Saturday, the next following Saturday is like Derek Carr has been magically clear. It's like Derek Carr's questionable return, decapitation, and then it's like
that's
back on
and back and ready to go. Like,
it's wild, man.
At some point they're like, no, I think you are injured. You just stay put, and we'll hopefully get Jameis Winston in. All right, guys, it's time for our segment where we give you a bet that you should lock in early before the line moves. Get you some closing line value, CLV. We also do you one better and try to predict where the line is going to close at. It's time now for our anticipation plays segment. This anticipation plays segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Last week, I had the Cowboys at 3.5. I thought it would go to 4. It stayed at 3.5, but they covered. Propstarz had the Broncos +3.
I don't think it actually moved that much.
I don't think that one actually moved either. Emory, you had the Colts set in my close around 4.5. Did it?
I didn't check.
No, Colts. I think Colts was 2. No, Colts. It might have gone down to like 1.5. Actually, I think it might have gone the other way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then Brinson, you had the total in the Bears and the Lions.
That was based entirely on this like insane weather that was going to happen.
Yes.
And it ended up going up to 43.5. Obviously, it went way over because and I think just really quickly, like I would point out that this is a good example of when when you're making bets like this early in the week. And I talked about this on the pick show. So I went on sportsline.com and put in a pick, and you can sign up for your first month for $1 for use promo code pick. I put in a pick on the Lions and Bears under. Now, when the weather started shifting, what I wanted to do, because I really liked the over at that number at 42.5, loved it. But the problem was if there's going to be 31 mile per hour wind, it doesn't matter who's playing football. They're not going to score that many points. Justin Fields had a great game. You know, the Lions slinging around a little bit. The Lions scored some points. I mean, I think it went way over, didn't it? I'm not crazy, am I? Didn't it? Yeah.
Like 41 up.
Actually, it went under. It went under.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Yeah. Surprising. Okay. Anyway, because the Lions only scored 13. But the point. Okay, so I'm glad I actually hit that pick. Then that's pretty hilarious. That's funny. The point being is like I wanted to go back on the over, because I thought the Lions would be able to score easily. So the Bears defense, it's a Bears defense thing, not a weather thing. So just the larger point being with the weather early in the week, you can't really lock it in until you get till like Thursday and Friday when you can start definitively saying, okay, this is going to be a weather game. So just be careful with making bets based on weather. You can find some good totals, but like if you think you could always come back and and just take the juice loss. Anyway, that's my spiel on that. Emory, what have you got? You've got a big swing. Lions and Broncos.
Just to back you up on the weather, I went back and looked. FCS playoffs are going on right now, and we're down to the Final Four. But last weekend, early in the week, South Dakota State playing Villanova. South Dakota State's in Brookings, South Dakota. That total was, I think, in the 50s, right? But watching that game, both teams were only willing. They were purposely slowing the clock down to get the opposite end of the field, because anytime they kicked on one side, it was going like straight due east, right? So they just, hey, we're going to drain this clock, get the opposite end, kick all our field goals, and try to pick the pace up there. And that score ended at 23-13 or something like that. So it was under based off the wins in South Dakota at that time. But it's fascinating how weather can change from what we talked about here on the Monday to, at the end of the week. But I do like the Broncos ended up favorites by the time this week is over with.
That is a huge swing.
It's a wild swing. That would be a big swing.
Same as you, but not that much. Yeah,
the Lions are -4. I feel like,
wait, dude. I don't know. Oh God! I forgot we have these 3 Saturday games too. Ay.
As the week goes on, I feel like people will start to realize how good this Broncos defense is, and we'll probably close at the Broncos a small favorite, if not a pick 'em.
For it to go for them to be a small favorite, I feel like there's got to be some kind of massive injury. You don't normally see it cross through 0, but maybe down to pick 'em. I'm on the same side as you. I'm saying Broncos right now. Well, it's some books. I was looking, shout out to FanDuel because they still have this line at 4. Some books are at 3.5. So I'm saying I would take the Broncos right now plus the 3.5 because I think this might go down to a field goal. And of course, you always want that half point. So same side as you, but you've got a much bigger swing.
This is my Chargers Broncos game of the week in terms of like, why is the Lions favored by this many?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna. You have the Broncos going to +3.
She just explained. She just ran through it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through 0 as well. I don't think that you see it often, but it requires a big injury, and I think you're gonna see. And this is sort of my theory here on this. Now, look, this could backfire on me badly, but if CJ Stroud is cleared, the Texans are going to be favored in this game in Tennessee. And I think what we have seen, I mentioned this on HQ just a few minutes ago. So I was like, did I already say this once? But I think I may have said it. I may have already said it on the show too. But what we have seen this year has been wildly different in the past month plus. We talked about Derek Carr, cleared from his second concussion inside of a week to come back and play. Trevor Lawrence, and this was a concussion, but he goes out there with an ankle injury. Brock Purdy was the first one. They had, until Brock Purdy came back from a concussion, there was not a single player in the NFL who sustained a concussion either the day of a game and then returned, or the day of the game, or like was in concussion protocol that week, because Brock was put in concussion protocol the day after, who returned to play the following week. The NFL had been like hardline stancing it where you're not, and I realize it's like the science, but there was very clearly an impetus to not allow guys to come back the following week. Well, Brock Purdy did it, and we've seen it happen a bunch since then. Now, whether that's good or bad, or whether it's just medical objectivity, whatever, the Texans are in a playoff hunt, and if CJ Stroud gets cleared, he's going to play in this game. And if that happens, this line's going to be Texans -3. So if you think like I do that the Texans are more likely to be able to get CJ Stroud cleared in time for next week's game based on this small trend that we've seen in recent weeks, then you should go ahead and bet the Texans now.
Yeah.
And that's so like, and I'm aware that I could be dead wrong here because you see the line Titans -1.5, -115. What's that?
You're gambling on it.
Right. But I'm saying like this could also go the other way where it's Titans -3 if CJ Stroud is not clear. So I think that's, like to me is a very the NFL does this all. Like I know people are like, it's a science. You can't change that. It's a science. No, it's not. If it was a science, then Brock Purdy wouldn't have been cleared, and Derek Carr's ass would be on the bench.
Yeah, it still has to be signed off by people from the teams, unless it happens. Well, but CJ Stroud was in game, which means they had a person not affiliated with the team. So sometimes that gets a little bit stickier. I don't know. All right. This Anticipation Plays segment has been brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
The Falcons at the Panthers. Oh, man. What a scorcher. Falcons -3, -115. The over 34.5 juiced up to 115 as well. Panthers are 9-4 to the under. Falcons are 8-5 to the under on the year. Both teams are terrible against the spread. The Falcons 4-9 despite being in first place, and the Panthers 2-9-2. I'm not betting on the Panthers. I'm sure they'll cover now. It's at home. I've been to.
Are we going to keep pounding?
No, we haven't started pounding. I have been to Panthers games in Charlotte in December when the Panthers are completely out of it, and it is an absolute tomb game. There is no one there. No one cares. I mean, the Hornets are. People are just. I mean, this is like. It's like if it's cold and rainy. Oh my god! I remember me and my buddy Zeke bought tickets for a Panthers Saints game. It was after the Panthers went to the playoffs, and it was I think it was maybe the Jake Delhomme. Man, it wasn't the interception game. The Panthers had just won the division. We're supposed to be good. We bought these like great club seats, like fifth row club seats. We're like. They were expensive. We're going to go watch Drew Brees and Delhomme battle it out. And then Delhomme gets hurt the first game of the season and has like Tommy John. And by the time that we get to the game, it's David Carr wearing these dainty little white mittens up against like a Saints team that was favored by like 17 points. It's freezing. It's raining. It's disgusting. There is nobody there. And look, it's going to be chilly. It's not going to be freezing, but it's going to be in the low 50s.
Oh, you really set a stage.
What I'm saying is that
going to be
who in their right mind is going to drag their family down to Bank of America Stadium to watch Derek Carr with whatever new injury he sustains this week. Or the Falcons, excuse me, Desmond Ridder, not Derek Carr. I was on a Carr family rant. I'm sorry. I got my cars
just as bad.
Yeah. To watch the Falcons with Desmond Ridder and this like very boring Falcons team going up against a one-win Panthers team. No one cares about the Panthers, and there's not going to be anybody there. I think you see the Falcons are nothing here.
Yeah, I'm laying these points with the Falcons. I like that their offense has found the big play. We saw Kyle Pitts have a big reception. We saw Drake London have 2. In that game against the Bucs, we saw Bijan Robinson do a great job, and they're getting everybody involved. As long as Ridder doesn't turn the ball over, they should win, because this Panthers up front along both sides of the line of scrimmage just got overwhelmed by the Saints, and they should get overwhelmed in this one again by the Falcons. They would have to lose this game if this. I'm about to do a Trent Dilfer. They would have to lose this game in order to not win this game.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. So,
it's funny how that makes sense. All right, moving on. The way that Brinson set that up, I don't even want to watch that game, let alone bet.
You really don't want to watch that game. It's going to be terrible. Yeah. The Panthers. Yeah, I see a lot of Panthers football. I mean, look, the Panthers are the most. It's not even close. I'd rather watch that Vikings Raiders 3-0 game on repeat for 6 hours than watch another snap of this Panthers offense. It is disgusting.
Okay. All right. Well, now we know how you really feel. And they are going to cover, by the way, since you just really set the stage.
I'm aware. Yeah.
Texans at the Titans. Titans laying 1.5. This total 37.5. Brinson kind of went into this already with his anticipation play. CJ Stroud currently in concussion protocol. Brinson thinks that he's going to be cleared, and this will have a swing to the other side, and that the Texans will be laying 3. I tend to actually agree with your thinking on this one. Brinson, is there anything that you would add, Emory?
Yeah, even without CJ Stroud, the Texans are a better team than Tennessee. They should be able to win this ball game, even with Davis Mills at quarterback, because I feel like when you think about the defensive side of the ball for Houston, they can get after Will Levis. They can force him into some bad decisions, and it's really about playing the run on the way to the quarterback. You beat Derrick Henry to the punch, and you essentially stop him behind the line of scrimmage, and his play is dead. So this is going to be more about the Texans playing efficient offense. Let's just say if it's not CJ Stroud, efficient offense, great defense, and benefiting from a turnover or 2 from Will Levis or whatnot. But I do feel like they could still win this game. So if you can get it right now at Tennessee minus 1.5, you got great value before it swings into, Texans' favorite territory.
You're saying take the Texans now?
Yeah, it takes Texans now while the spread is in their favor. You know what I'm saying?
But that's a gamble on CJ Stroud coming back.
No. Well, I'm saying you're getting good value at plus money based off the Titans being favored, is what I'm saying. Like, they should win this game without CJ Stroud. And I feel like that defense should be able to, right. This is a bad Titans football team that already has shown infighting already with their quarterback and star receiver. But what else is new? Every star receiver feels like they should get the ball every play. So yeah, take the Texans here. That would be my best bet out of the two in this game.
Okay.
All right, Jets at Dolphins. The Dolphins, of course, are playing on. Was it Edie? Yeah.
No, that was me. I'm yawning up a storm. I'm very tired today.
Really selling the podcast. What you had a Panthers Panthers Falcons game?
Once you started going on about the Panthers, I started thinking about it, and now all of a sudden I'm to sleep.
That's fair. Dolphins minus 12.5. Home against the Jets, who they smoked on Black Friday in New York. A total here of 40. Again, a really surprising total, given that the line is 12.5. Like, that is a thin line. There's a tight window to thread the needle through to get 12.5 and 40. I think if you're laying the points of the Dolphins, you probably have to take the over. Made that mistake taking the under on Black Friday. Zach Wilson, best game of his career against the Texans.
Every time Aaron Rodgers stands up for Zach Wilson, he has a little spurt of something, and then he kind of reverts back to whatever.
He does. Dolphins are 8. Look, I think it's Dolphins or nothing for me. It's 12.5. They've blown out bad teams. The Jets are a bad team, and this is a spot too where if you are the Dolphins, I know that who are we talking to? We're talking about looking ahead to Brady Quinn. I asked Brady Quinn and dudes like if you look ahead at like the schedule and like, should I play this game? Should I play this game? I mean, you don't. But the Dolphins have the Titans tonight. We assume that they're going to win. They're at home. Jets at home. Then they close. Cowboys at home, at Ravens, home against the Bills. These next two games for the Dolphins, a team that has dominated bad teams and has yet to beat a team with a winning record, unless you count the Broncos.
Who did not have a winning record then.
Right. They've not beaten a team. The Broncos are the only team that they beat that currently has a winning record. Their losses are the Bills, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. The wins are the Chargers, Patriots, Broncos, Giants, Panthers, Patriots, Raiders, Jets, and Commanders. We can say whatever we want about the Dolphins, but you got to win the next two, because if you don't, you're really opening yourself up to the Bills stealing this division title and making things awkward. So I think the Dolphins, it's Dolphins or nothing here.
This is a lot of points, though, 12.5 to give the Dolphins against this Jets defense. The offense is terrible, but this is a good defense. They've been able to limit people and the amount of points that are scored on them.
They didn't limit the Dolphins, though. The problem is like the Jets defense doesn't really match up well with this Dolphins offense, because Sauce Gardner is awesome, but nobody's awesome against Tyreek Hill, because he's just going to get behind you, or he's like, or you're going to play off of him and he's going to catch it underneath and take it uphill. Like, there's just nothing you can do to stop him.
Who are the Dolphins playing tonight?
Titans.
I remember being at the Giants-Jets joint practice last summer, right? And this is when the Giants still had Richie James. And all they was running in this joint practice was like high, low crossers. And the Jets corners, to Will's point, are built for press. Yeah. It's hard to press on the inside. And if you got to chase these dudes around on crossers, good luck. Now, granted, that's Richie James. This is like the Olympic track team.
Yeah.
So it's tough. But you gotta sell me on whether or not we're gonna get Zach Wilson that we got yesterday.
Right.
Because if he can play with that kind of confidence, and that's all he has to do, just get out of his own head, go play, then they could be competent. So I would probably lean toward the over here.
Yeah, that's 40. Like, the Dolphins scored 30. I mean, they went 47 points against the Jets. If you get like 75% of Zach Wilson yesterday, this over's happening.
Mm-hmm.
The total is weird.
And the Jets are still in the hunt. They're in the graphic. The
Jets are in the graphic. They're in the graphic.
I have no statistical analysis, but I kind of lean towards taking the points of the Jets.
You ain't been wrong in the last 3 weeks. You've
been on fire lately. So sure.
I know what you're feeling.
These random gut plays of trappy like games.
We should create a graphic with Katie's gut.
Yeah.
It's been like your gut is 3-0 right now.
Yeah, like this one just feels.
Does your shirt say whiskey, by the way?
Yeah, it says whiskey nights, I think.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was just like you're endorsing whiskey. I was like, I like it.
Well, it still is. But anyway, sorry. I have not been drinking any whiskey when I decided that I thought the Jets might cover this game, just so we're clear. Moving on. Bears at the Browns. Browns laying a field goal here. This total 37.5. Bears look pretty good, Emory. What do you think of Justin Fields since he's come back from injury?
Well, I've been on this network and said this since Ben. Like, if I'm the Bears, I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and we're pairing him up with DJ Moore, and we're going out there and we're averaging 45 points a game, right? So this game is going over. This is essentially playoff elimination game for both teams. Bears have been lights out. They're scoring. They have explosiveness back in their offense with Justin Fields able to take off and get 30 yards easily, but also has the ability to throw it deep down the field to DJ Moore. They're working the offense a lot better. And defensively, they're playing great. Montez Sweat has been outstanding since going to Chicago. Joe Flacco has been outstanding since joining the Browns.
Which is kind of fun to watch.
And Ryan Wilson had a crazy point last night. I was like, he's like, Flacco was drafted 1 year before Matthew Stafford. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Crazy. And when you think about like his first game, he 5.4 yards an attempt, get the ball out quick, check down Charlie. But last week or yesterday against the Jags, he's actually working deep down the field. And they were wide open receivers. I don't know what Jackson was doing in the back end. So I feel like this game with a lot at stake for both Chicago is in the graphic in terms of playoff. The Browns are actually an 8-win team, and now they're moving up. So I think they're the 5th seed now. So if you're Cleveland, you got to win this ball game because you're trying to keep out the Texans, trying to, knock out Pittsburgh at least. So I feel like we're going to get a great game here. So I like the over.
I actually think I'd lean towards the under a little bit, only because the Bears defense has been so good. It's a low total though. And we have seen some explosive plays from both these sides. David Njoku played awesome yesterday. Amari Cooper had some moments as well. The one thing I worry a little bit about is this game is in Cleveland, and there's nothing like on the horizon win wise or weather wise. But man, like you could get, if you got a beastie, something pops up and so there's a bunch of weather in Cleveland, like I think this could be a good look for the under. Maybe that's what's keeping it suppressed a little bit. Yeah. I just think both the Browns defense is really, really good, and the Bears defense has been really good the last few weeks, like surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have 13 to the Lions, 10 to the Vikings before the bye, 31 to the Lions the week before that in that crazy game. They'd really turned Jared Goff over a bunch and had suppressed that Lions offense. 13 to the Panthers. It just really like the last 5 or 6 weeks, the defense has stepped up. So I'm curious to see if they can do the same thing to the Browns. But you're right. There's a lot at stake here. Certainly could be points scored. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, man, imagine telling Bill Belichick he'd be a 10-point home dog to Andy Reid at any point in his career, 4 years ago. We're going to have to tell him. Next.
You need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Chiefs opened at -9.5 up to 10. Look ahead line was 11.5, holding steady, a total of 37, juiced a little bit to the over. They are in New England, and this Chiefs team, tough scene, buddy. They are losers since the bye, losers of 3 of 4 to the Eagles, Packers, and Bills on Sunday afternoon.
All late in the game, too.
All late in the game. Those are the officials. They're being mean to us. They don't want us to play. It's so mean. It's unfair.
I will say that is the first time that Patrick Mahomes has ever behaved like that.
It was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing, but I think that's the first time that he has actually embarrassed himself. You look at that loss to the Packers, press conference after, very classy response. I feel like we can cut him a little bit of slack because it's misdirected anger. He should be mad at his players.
Yeah, dude. Kadarius Toney's cost you 2 games.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney cost him that week 1 game against Detroit, and he cost him the week 14 game against Buffalo. And I know it's a tough seed. Look, I get we talk about this a lot. It's a tough seed with Tyreek Hill, and the Dolphins are like gunning for the 1 seed. You might have to go to Miami and play Tyreek Hill in the playoffs, even though you beat them in Germany. But you lose these games the way you lose these games. And
well, what I thought was funny is when the only thing I take issue with, like I'm cutting Patrick some slack here. Andy Reid, he had time to actually think about it to say that it was embarrassing for the NFL. But when Patrick Mahomes is like, I hope when he gets in Canton one day, they talk about there are better Travis Kelce plays than that one. Like, yes, it was a fun little trick play. He threw the pass, but like, I don't think his legacy is riding on that play.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really great throw back to Kadarius Toney. Yeah, and you saw like the way the camera angle, just watching it live, you're like, oh, and then, it's
McCaffrey threw a better one.
What's that?
Christian McCaffrey threw a better one last season.
Those are touchdown pass, not lateral, but yes. I think that this has to be a spot where you're looking at the under potentially, and I don't see how you can take the points with the Patriots. Like the Chiefs defense is pretty good. Are you going to take the points with the Patriots?
Taking the points with the Patriots?
No.
Oh, no.
I mean, back-to-back, this is like back-to-back losses for the question, Emory, is, are the Chiefs bad, or are the Chiefs about to flex on the Patriots?
We can assume that Patrick Mahomes is better than Mitch Trubisky, right?
That feels safe to say.
Right. So
they were drafted. I don't know if you know this. Mr. Trubisky was selected over Patrick Mahomes in the NFL draft, though.
Yeah, 49ers traded out that pick to get for the Bears to trade up to get.
Ryan Pace thought Mr. Trubisky was better than Patrick Mahomes.
And now, so I know I was loud and wrong about Thursday night's game, and the Patriots went out there and it was just all offense. So Zeke looks great.
Bill Belichick's 2019 fantasy team was cooking, man.
Yeah, Hunter Henry was rolling. So
Juju
who was a Chief. But shout out to Eric Bieniemy, because he has to be laying back, smiling at all of this, right? Because there was not a lot of these breakouts and wild, chaotic instances when he was the OC, or was he calling the plays? Well, now we see he had more control over in KC than people are led to believe. But I digress. I look at this one. I think, hey, man, if I can get that Patriots team that I got before against the Steelers, this could be a highly competitive game. Who knew that the Patriots were going to go out there and just score a bunch of points against the Steelers defense, no less? Yeah. This is still a very good defense, but if we're going to get Bailey Zappi with some confidence, I'm liable to take the Patriots plus the points here. I feel like Bill Belichick, because again, who threatens you outside of Travis Kelce on the perimeter? This is just a Mahomes play. So I'm gonna take the Patriots to keep this one close.
Belichick will take it. He's gonna take out Travis Kelce and make somebody else beat him. And good luck doing that. They'd have to be able to run the ball, I suppose. Commanders at the Rams. Rams minus 6.5. Total 48.5. I love this over because the Commanders are terrible on defense. It's indoors. You're going to see, if you can bet Aaron Donald to get a sack, do that.
How many?
Yeah. Can you bet Aaron Donald like over 3.5 sacks for like plus 5 to 1 or something? I think I'm probably laying the points here with the Rams and taking the over. I don't know if the total is going to move above 50 or anything like that, but I would be surprised if this game, if the Rams get a big lead, they could suck the air out of this game. That would be my only concern. But the Commanders are not afraid to drop Sam Howell back 50 times.
No.
Shout out to Puka Nacua, who's on that Derek Carr plan too. He was killed 2 weeks ago, and then last week went out there against.
He dies every time every week catches the ball. He's like, Puka's out for the year.
He's like old video game. He gets knocked out, and then he blinks, and then he disappears, and then next week he's back new. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I see this one being a high scoring affair. So I do like the over play as well. The Commanders can score, but they give up a lot of points. They're going to give up some sacks. And the Rams, I said this is Sean McVay coached a great game against the Ravens. He had those defensive backs out there guessing and arguing with each other. And then you saw Stafford consistently beat the blitz They'll try to pressure him in this one, but I think he's going to have answers. So I like the over. I do like the Rams to win, but I like the over better.
Okay, I like the Rams as well. 49ers laying 13.5.
Game total over Niners. Let's move on.
At the Cardinals, total 47.5. This is a really
Mock Spot 3000 says take the Niners team total over.
I haven't even got to that part.
I'm just kidding. It's now 10-3, right?
Yeah, 9-4 because
it lost. Okay.
Yeah, well, the 3-game losing streak it lost. So, and it lost by the hook in this last game. Game ended at 28, and it was 28.5. But still, yes, take it anyways because it still hits all the time.
You know what? So the recap shows Breachbot. Breach is a cow. Breach will say anything that makes Jerry Jones happy. He's Breachbot 3000. That was there was a. It wasn't a joke on you. It was a joke on Breach.
Well, it could be a joke on me because I give it every single.
It's just 9-4. You should give it out every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say this 13.5 feels like a lot. The Niners, I think, closed at 13.5 this last week with Drew Lock in, and they did not cover that. The Seahawks actually played a pretty good game, all things considering. So should the Niners win by 13.5? Sure. I'm not sure I would lay that number. I'd probably lay off of this spread entirely. Do y'all have
Kyler's playing this game? 13.5?
I'm going under the total. I feel like this will be all San Francisco. Like this could be 35-3.
Mm-hmm.
28-10. It will kind of helps you cover the spread, but I like the under better.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's talk Cowboys.
All right. Breachbot 3000. Cowboys at the Bills. Bills -1.5. Look, this is a spot. I'll be taking the Bills money line in this one. Paying the extra 15 cents just to not mess around with that 1.5. Since it's already juiced. I mean, you could just play the -130. The over is probably a pretty good look too. Bills defense, I don't think you're going to see. So Kansas City is really more likely to sort of slow the game down and try to run the football. They're using Clyde Edwards-Helaire a bunch on Sunday afternoon. You saw that game. The Bills came out and scored quickly early. I think the Bills are galvanized. I think they're going to be playing aggressive downfield chunk it football
in the first half.
Stephon Diggs and Steph Gilmore is a fun battle. Former Steph Gilmore revenge game. Maybe Stephon Diggs revenge game against his cousin Trayvon Diggs for tweeting about even though he's obviously hurt. I think the over in the Bills is where I'm looking for this one, and this will be a very popular DFS game.
Oh, this will be a very good narrative game, right? Narrative is going to eat this up all throughout the week, but the big matchup is Josh Allen versus DeRon Bland, who doesn't drop picks. And we know Josh Allen loves to throw them to the opposing team. Dallas will find a way to turn the ball over a lot in their offense. Has figured out that Rico Dowdle should be the leadoff guy and allow Tony Pollard to be the backup like he was. Fresh legs gets in. He's able to hit that gap and be explosive. And we're seeing them finally get Kevontae Turpin involved multiple times within the regular offense. Dallas will win this ball game, take them on the money line.
Our own Robbie Snyder, who does social here for CBS, he had tweeted out yesterday, which I thought was so great. If there's a quarterback that gets a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and an interception, you should call it the Josh Allen because it's basically like the Gordie Howe hat trick. All right, moving on. Ravens laying 3.5 at the Jags, total 43.5. I would go ahead and lay this with the Ravens. That is a mean team. I feel like the Ravens are kind of flying slightly under the radar. Everybody's talking about these NFC teams, but the Ravens are quietly, or not so quietly, one of the best teams in football. So I lean towards Ravens -3.5. Brinson, what do you think?
Yeah, probably. It's a tough game. I think you need to know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence here. Is he fine?
Do those things heal?
He's just fine. Just broke his ankle. He's just fine a week later.
He didn't look fine. He didn't play great this weekend.
No, he had several fumbles and two. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this Ravens defense is going to probably swarm, and Jacksonville can't stop anybody right now. Lamar Jackson's going to have a huge game in this one. This is the Sunday night game too. So, yeah, I would probably lean towards the Ravens, but the 3.5 is a little concerning. I think that Baltimore finds a way to win. Look, Baltimore knows that this is a massive game for seeding in the AFC. I think they come out and play well. Yeah, I'll probably lay the points to the Ravens.
I like the over. The Ravens defense is good, but then they have those lapses of judgment where they can't figure out how to cover, or they can't play the ball in the air, or they can't just flat out cover. I think Jacksonville has enough playmakers on the perimeter to work the secondary. I like the over going here.
All right, that's going to do it for our Monday early leans show. Make sure you join us all week long for more NFL coverage. Tomorrow, Brinson, Breach, and Wilson are joined by Pete Prisco to talk about his weekly power rankings on CBSSports.com. You got Edith growling at me right now. One last reminder to show us a little love, the like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page. Anyone listening to the audio version only, do the same. Download, follow, leave a 5-star review, tell your friends to listen and watch the pod, and we will see you next time.